Welcome to Before Brunch TV, a show where women are pouring into each other and then their glasses. I'm your host, Stephanie Walters, and today we're talking about one of the most amazing but controversial topics. We're talking about relationships, something that we all can relate to, and we're talking about romantic relationships today. And I have a couple friends with me here. We have Mavis, Lisa, and Jessica. Thank you all for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Are y'all excited to be here?
Yes.
All right, so we're talking relationships, which is a heavy topic. Go ahead and sip to that, Mavis. So just to give like a little bit of background, Mavis is engaged and about to be married. Lisa is married and Jessica is married, and then I'm married. So I think it's kind of good to give people like the real deal perspective about like what marriage is like and relationships are like for people who are watching. Because I feel like people get this misconception about what marriage is like. People think it's like rainbows and ponies and you love your spouse every day. I'm like, nah, sometimes I'm not rocking with you today. And you know, I mean, can you all like relate?
Yeah, I've been married for a year, and I had come from, a background where broken home, divorced parents, both wonderful in my life as parents, but never like really saw it done 100% right. And so just, being in my first year of marriage, it's been a learning experience, I mean, we were together 3 years prior to that, and you think, oh, I've got it figured out, and we know what we're getting ourselves into, and you do really, but to be able to like jump into life and figure it out, honestly, it's been hard,
Yeah, I'm newly engaged.
What
would you say is the biggest thing that changed from being engaged to being married?
For us, it was the money aspect of our lives. We're older. I'm 36. He's 38. And when we came into this, we've been financially doing our own thing, and he and I's money perspective, the way we look at money, is totally different.
Oh yeah.
He's like, let's just not spend it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I mean, I could be like that, but also like, I want a budget. I want to be able to understand, what I'm spending my money on. I don't want to just sit on it, So that for us has been the most challenging thing and we're still right now. We are like, I'm like, we really need to sit down and look at our budget. He's like, hon, I feel like you're gonna be saying that until we die. We're gonna sit down and look at our budget. I'm like, well, don't tell me that we have to save this amount of money. Or, hon, you really need to watch the spending.
What are we saving for?
Compared to what? What are we saving for?
My fiance is definitely a saver. And then I'm a spender, so I can already tell that's gonna be a thing where we're gonna have to just like really have constant communication about it.
Yeah.
Because already there's like packages coming to the house every day, and he's like,
oh God, story of my life.
Who is this for?
Right.
For me.
He's like, every day.
Every day.
Yeah. I'm sure it really is for you right now. From Christmas and wedding stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. How long have you been married?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 years, and I'm on my second marriage as well. I'm on my real marriage though.
I love that.
And I'm blended. My family is blended. So he had a daughter, I had sons. And I think the hardest part is just, how you respond when it's tested. And it will be tested. And a lot of times it's tested early. And so things happen. It just depends on your communication and your expectations. And you just learn, I guess with age comes wisdom. And that's what they say, and it's for real. I think my tagline with it is, we all love how love makes us feel. The good part about it, when it makes us happy. But can we love when it's hard? When I don't really like you today.
I don't really like you today, right?
Yeah, I really don't like you today. But then after a while, you pick your fights. And is it really worth it? And I heard somebody say one time, do you want to be right? Do you want to be heard? And do you want to be right, or do you want to be married? So those are the questions that you kind of pose to yourself.
Yeah. I think one of the things, the hardest part to me, it's a misconception. It's like, oh, when anything big goes down, it's negative. It's like, I'm out, and it's just like, no, like we're going to try to like work on this. Let's work through that. And then the money thing is huge. Like my husband and I started our business before we actually like were even dating per se. I think we might have been together for a couple months, and I was like, man, we put our names on some papers like a business. This better work out.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it worked out. But I mean, like literally 3 months before our wedding, he left corporate America, left his job to run our company full time. And our parents were like, "Are you crazy?" Like, and we have had so many challenging times, like ups and downs, like financially, because it's, you know, starting your own business. That's just what it is. But that was the risk I was willing to take. Yeah. But sometimes when certain hurdles came up, I was like, I didn't sign up for this. I don't know how about this life I am. Yeah. And because I'm a co-owner of the business, I really had to like ride it out. And fortunately, we're on the upswing, but those low times can take you really, really low where you're just like, can I do this like forever? Yeah. Like this is a long time because you can't see past like the bad times. And I think when, you know, they say like money is the number one reason people get divorced. And like when I read that statistic, I was like, yep, I get it. 100% get it. And you know, you still want to do things for yourself, so you kind of feel guilty, like packages coming to the house, but it's like, I gotta live too.
Right.
You know?
It's self-care.
Mm-hmm.
I got to a place where we hit one of our financial rough spots, and I wouldn't let him take me out. Like I would just feel so bad about it, so I'd just be like, no, we could just eat here, you know, I'll cook, let's do something here, you know.
Opposite of me, girl.
Right.
Take me out.
And my mom said something to me. She was like, regardless of how bad it gets, you know, let a man be a man. You know, if he says he wants to take you out, then let him take you out, and he will deal with it after the fact. And it helps, you know. I mean, we negotiate and we compromise. I mean, it's it's not always a struggle. In the struggle.
I think one of the hardest parts for me is like taking on baggage from other relationships. And when you've come out of a bad relationship before my current marriage, and it's like when you really have to take that self-assessment of yourself and really look at yourself like, ooh, how ugly was I in that relationship? How do you guys think you've taken baggage from your previous relationship into your next, and has it affected you?
Well, for me, I think I used it as a measuring tool for my current relationship, and it was so unfair, you know. And I think that because I was hurt in the relationship, and I had my own part in the failing of that relationship as well. But I think in recovering from it, I was so hurt by it, I ended up measuring everything against it. So it's like, if you do one thing, you know, I'm all over it, you know. And I had to learn to submission in one hand. You know, I know a lot of women, especially younger women, don't like that word, but it works. I mean, you know, it's not that you are underfoot or you're less than, but sometimes you just have to say, okay, if this is the decision we're gonna make, that, you know, you say as the man of the house that we're gonna do, then we do it. And I don't have to measure it by what failed in my previous relationship. But the hard part is you get like relationship PTSD. So it's like, you know, you just go into shock about it, but everything isn't, you know, a fight. And so I think dragging that baggage is so, like, you can't compare a failed relationship, you know, but then sometimes it takes a good relationship to let you understand what a bad relationship, you know, is. So that was one of the hardest parts of me separating and not measuring it all the time.
I think for me, it was letting go of just the fear that my fiance would be like other people I dated. And I think sometimes it's easy to just think about like all the times when other people maybe didn't tell you exactly where they were, or they took forever to answer their phone, or just different things that then as a woman causes you to be insecure or uncomfortable or wondering like, are they telling me the truth? But I had to realize like actually communication is one of my fiance's strengths, and he's really good at just being proactively, you know, honest, and he is just like that naturally. And so I had to realize like he's not like that, and he doesn't do that. And so for me to just like kind of have that fear in the back of my head is really ruining this super awesome thing that's going on. And so it just took a moment to just let all that go.
I would say for me, it was maybe a twofold thing. One was trust, and then the other was maybe not addressing everything. My previous marriage, I didn't like bring to light some of the things that I probably should have early on. And so I've kind of gone overboard with this guy that I'm married to. God bless him. Like he's like, I like will talk things to death. He's like, hon, do we have to keep talking about this? I'm like, yes, I'm not done. but I do think that part of that is like I do overdo a little bit, you know. And it's like, okay, some things just need to be like, it's almost when I say talk to death, it's like I'm trying to talk through a problem to make it right so that we can move forward. Like it's like I wanted everything and still do sometimes wanted everything to just be right and be perfect and you know, it's not going to be that, and we have to like work through things, and it's not always going to happen right away.
That communication piece is important. I'm the one too. I'm like, I need to talk about this now.
Yes.
And I had to get over the fact that like, if he says he can't talk about it right now, I have to leave it alone. And it like pains me because I'm the type of person where like, if we have an issue, I need to talk about it right now because otherwise it doesn't settle. Like I'm not settled. And now when he wants to go, like he's not mentally in a space to talk about it because he's upset or he's whatever. Now I'm sitting here, I go from the issue we had to other things. Well, okay, now I'm thinking about a million things. Now we talk about it again. I'm even more heated because now I'm thinking about other stuff that happened like 4 and 5 months ago, you know? So it's just like finding that balance and I guess like learning your partner and be like, okay, he needs some time to cool down and I might want to talk about it. What's the middle ground? And so I remember talking to somebody, they were like, hey, I need to set a time limit. Say, hey, okay, can we come back to this in 2 hours? Because now that holds both of us accountable and that eases my mind. Okay, we're going to talk about it. And that gives him some time to be like, all right, I got 2 hours to get myself together. So that communication piece, I feel like no matter how great of friends you are, no matter how long you've been together, that communication piece can sometimes really slip up.
Totally.
Men, I think, naturally they want to fix it. So don't talk me to death about it. You tell me what the problem is, and then let me figure out how to fix it. Then us, because we are emotional, we just want to whine
about it for 3 hours.
Right. And then when you walk away, you don't want to talk about it. Then like you say, I'm heated, like, oh, you got a nerve to walk away from me?
Yeah.
And not talk to me? You know, and it makes us somehow feel like we're not validated in that moment. But I've learned that if you give it a moment and then when you come back to the table, if you say, look, this made me feel this way when you did that, then let's figure out a way how we do it different. Yeah. You got to learn to fight fair.
I feel like though sometimes men just don't think that feelings are valid in situations. Yeah. You're like, well, that's how you feel, but what are the facts in the situation? Right. I'm like, no, but my feelings are valid. Like how I feel is
kind
valid.
of become facts.
Yeah.
The fact is, this is how I feel.
Yeah, and you can't change that.
Right.
It is a process. So like Mavis, with you like getting ready to get married, like what are like your biggest, like what's anything that's giving you anxiety about it?
So we recently had, we went through marriage counseling just so we could get married in our church. And, you know, you fill out kind of like this sheet to pull together like what you each think about different things like finance, relationships, like having kids. So we were both really happy that we kind of were on the same page on most things. The one thing that we were both like on totally different pages about was finances, because we just have different, I think, mentality about things. He's definitely like a rainy day person, whereas I'm like, well, yes, I think it's important like to save and to, you know, take care of your business, but I think you need to enjoy life.
Yes.
And so I just think like once we like merge our finances, that's the thing that's really going to take a lot of communication to just make sure we're doing things.
We had some big
girl, keep your own bank account.
I agree. Like it's funny.
Keep your own bank account.
That's what I said. A lot of people in the group were just like, you know, talking about joint accounts. I don't agree with the idea of joint accounts.
We don't. Our only joint account is our business account.
And I think savings is different, but like my personal money, you don't need to see what I'm doing.
Thank you.
I agree. We have our own accounts, but we also have a joint account for all of our joint expenses.
Yeah. I think sometimes in different seasons, different stuff works. And a lot of times that I hear people say, well, he changed or she changed, so I can't do this anymore. But it's like, I think one of the challenges is growing together with somebody, especially like the older you get, like, you know, you're stuck in your ways. Like, I got married at 30, my husband was 34. Like, he was gonna be who he is, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like we were like 21. It's like, oh, we're so like aloof to everything. But I think as we've gotten older, it's like, look, you knew how I was when we got married. This is how I was. So it's like, I'm gonna defer to Miss Lisa for this one. Like, how do you handle like that growing together thing?
Well, I was about to ask you.
Okay.
You finished. Would you admit that he's adjusted some things maybe in the course of, or no?
I would say, yeah.
And it could be small things.
Yeah.
And not some. I think when we get married, we figure out this is what I want you to be. You never really know a person until you live with them, like every day, until the bills come in the mail with both of your names on them. But growing together, it is a process. But like, I'm fortunate enough to be married to my best friend. Yeah. So I couldn't, so we fight together, we fight each other, but we fight together more than the arguing and stuff like that. So it just becomes a thing. Do I trust him? Do I love him? If there's a dog fight and we gotta go in, skins and, am I there for that, and is what I'm upset about, is it that bad?
Jessica, you mentioned like you went through a challenging time like this year. How did that shape or change like your marriage?
Well, interestingly enough, we see a therapist every 2 weeks. We've done it since we started dating, and part of that is, again,
like maintenance,
because of my like psychotic background. I'm like, I just want to make sure this works. Yeah. But we were in the therapist and we were telling her about it, and I was telling her from my perspective how it made me feel and like how it shaped our relationship. And I said that I felt like I felt a closeness to him that I hadn't felt before, and that I could rely on him, because I kind of like the dynamic in our relationship is I kind of take this more like power role sometimes, just because of my personality, and he's just kind of like whatever, and he just really like, I felt like he really showed himself as a man to me. And I mean, he was just like such a caring, like just this caring person in that moment, because we were together when it happened, and it was very emotional. Like, I don't wish it on anybody. I know a lot of women have miscarriages, but to physically have it is, I think, a little bit different than having like a DNC. And just the fact that he was just there and went out and got what I needed, and just all night laid with me and just took very good care of me, it just made me feel really comforted, and that he was just very supportive and loving. But I think it's brought us closer together, and it was very emotional, and maybe more emotional for me from the hormonal standpoint. But for him too, he's really excited about it.
Yeah. I think it's awesome that you guys go to therapy.
Thanks.
I mean, it's like, I kind of really, it's like car maintenance. Like, you don't wait until your joint is wheels falling off. Like, you gotta take an oil change. I feel like you gotta continue to do maintenance, and whether that's like therapy or going on dates or just like having like regular communication. I think sometimes in the hustle and bustle of life, we forget that. Like, I was ragging on my husband for a little minute. I was like, I want to go on a date. He's been so busy. He's traveling. And I just like, it was driving me crazy, because I'm just like, this is something I feel like I needed, Yeah. He's like, that's not a need, that's a want. I'm like, no, it's my need. And I think with the hustle and bustle of life, we forget just like those little things. I'm like, I'm not asking for a Birkin bag. Like, I just want to go out to dinner. That would be nice. You can send me that. That's cool. But, like those little maintenance things. Like, what are some maintenance and like kind of preventative things that y'all do in your relationships?
Yeah, so we do try to do regular date nights, because so we both work like 2 jobs, first of all. Then because we've been engaged, there's been a lot of things that we're doing that are super fun and like we're grateful for, but they're really for everyone else, kind of like the parties and the like celebrations, and they involve so many people that we don't want our relationship to just be that, because that's not really continuing to get to know each other. So we do try to go on dates every now and again where it's just like him and I, or we can like really talk and see how things are going, because sometimes there are days where we both work so much that we see each other for like maybe 10 minutes before we go to sleep, and then that's it. And so then I quickly have to ask him these like 5 things for the wedding. Like, do you care what color the napkins are? Like, what do we need to do for this? Is this person really invited? And then we just go to sleep. And so, but that's not a relationship. And so I think it's been important for us to still have those like regular date nights, and to really like check in on each other then, and not talk about everyone else, but just about like how we're doing.
Yeah.
We talk every day. Like, we follow each other around the house. So like, if I'm in one room, you'll come in that room, or vice versa. We have a dual recliner, so we both sit there together, and if it's football, we're watching football, but we try to talk about, how's your day. In the middle of the day, they're text, and I'm almost 50 and I still expect it, what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that it's an unreasonable.
Send you sexy text messages.
Yes. I mean, I have pictures in my phone that I'll just randomly send.
Yes.
Be like, hey, remember me?
Right.
And I've said that. I'll send the picture and just be like, remember me? And so when you find like something's missing, it's just random, just out of the blue. unexpected, nothing's wrong, just remember me. You know, you just saw me this morning, but do you remember?
However.
You know, and he'll come home with bottles of wine because he knows I like red wine. So, you know, he'll come home and I'll have a bottle of wine. And
He's like, yeah, I got that text. You ready?
yes, we cook together. You know, we tag team on different stuff that he'll be outside on the grill and I'll be in the kitchen doing whatever I do. And so it's fun, you know. And I wanted to say to you that there is life after miscarriage. I had a miscarriage. Well, I had an early delivery.
Oh my
and
gosh.
she lived 2.5 hours. I named her Faith. But she would have been 24.
Wow.
And I think that 24 a few days ago, but I think that had that not happened, I wouldn't have my children, my sons. So I just wanted to just sidebar that. I wanted to say it. It felt in my spirit when you said
Appreciate
it, but
it.
I just wanted you to know that there
you're like
is
the second
life after this.
person in this week that has said something to me about that.
Yeah, and just keep dating. Just back to what we were talking about. Just keep dating. And I always say you got to start out like you can hold out. You know, so how you want to see this thing go, both of you have to put forth that work.
Yeah,
because it is work.
Yeah, I think sometimes we as women, we want the guys to do stuff for us, and then it's like, okay, well, what are you doing? So I like the fact you're like, oh, I send pictures. I think, you know, you got to keep it spicy for sure. And I always ask him, like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, what am I doing? He's like, I'm good. I'm like, no, but like, what do you want me to do? I can tell you the list of things I want you to do. But, you know, I think men and women are just wired so differently. Like, as long as they're like, they're fed, they're chill. Yeah, you know, it's like a baby. Like, they're comfortable and like chill. But we're like, well, I want this, I want that, I want to go vacation, I want to go shopping, I want to do, and you know, it's, I kind of feel bad. Sometimes you kind of forget about the men.
The little,
And so I'm just like, what do you want to do?
I also think for us,
what'd you say?
They want to do the free.
Oh, I know. I'm sitting here thinking the same thing. I'm like, I know he wants. He wants sex all the time. A little oral or whatever. He don't care. He does not care. Rub it. Just look at it.
Do something.
He loves. That's all he wants. He does.
That's pretty easy, right? Somebody say, hey.
He is so simple.
Light is always on.
I think for women, because so many of us are like on social media and our friends are all on there and everybody's like posting everything they're doing and they're going on lavish vacations every day and somebody, you know, bought them a Birkin and all this stuff. So then you feel like, well, you know,
I ain't getting that.
Right, and men aren't really doing that on social media. So I think the comparison is just like different.
What kind of advice would you give to somebody who's watching who like is either like in a relationship or about to get married or been married for years and needs like that refresh? Like, what kind of advice can you give them to just some words of encouragement?
You know, you got to do what works for you. And I think everybody has an opinion, and your friends and your family, about who you're with and what y'all are doing. And I think you just really have to try to stay in your lane. And I always think about it like, I don't have time to worry about other people. Like, I got enough to, and I don't even want to use the word worry because I don't want to speak that, but I've got enough to focus on in my own life and enough to work on between him and I. You know, you really have to invest a lot of energy in your marriage and love and emotion.
I would agree. And I would say not to set false expectations or high expectations for your partner or for yourself, you know, and then when you fail to meet them or they're not met. But I would just say learn patience. And love. It's hard sometimes to love when you're angry, but you have to come back to that place and just say, if this person wasn't here, you know, would this all be worth it if something happened, you know? And, you know, privacy, you know, you can't discuss everything that goes on in your relationship, you know, with your girlfriends. I don't care how close you are, you know, even with your parents, because there'll come a time.
They're always gonna choose you, your parent.
Exactly. And then, you know, if you're having something that may seem really, really bad or hard in the moment and you express that to them, they will choose that. And then when you come back and it's like you lovey-dovey again and it's okay, then it's like, well, they still have their feelings. They're in their feelings about it, you know, and just not compare yourself to anybody else's relationship. So your girlfriends, you know, them to their boys, you know, their friends, because it's so not, and on your own part, you know, if there's an argument, there are two people. You know, my grandfather always said, you know, a person can't argue by themselves. So there's always somebody else, you know, in that. But I would just say, just learn patience. It comes.
Yeah, I would say to really find those moments to reconnect with each other. That's what has kept us really going and making sure that we have a relationship, not just like going out to events or, you know, other things that if you lost everything today, it wouldn't matter, you know, like the stuff you have in your house, the things you're able to do. Yeah. But you have to have a foundation outside of that. And so us being able to like really share things with each other. And like you said, like I really do feel like my fiance is my best friend. And so I can talk to him about anything. Yeah. And it's so refreshing to just feel like I have a partner to go through life with in that way. And so when I am like frustrated or annoyed, the fact that I can come back to that and remember it just really makes me feel grateful that I even found that, because so many people walk through life and never find that. So I feel really grateful for that. So I think just really reconnecting to that foundation is important.
Yeah, I agree with the best friend thing. Like my husband is my best friend, and I think when all like, you know, every day you're not feeling all lovey-dovey and it's not like a walk in the park. So like you have to really get back to like, all right, you're my friend first. Yes. So like sometimes you have to talk to them as your friend versus like my husband or my lover, like friend to friend. Advice. You know what I mean? Like let's keep it real.
That's a great piece of advice.
And I think that to me that's helped me, because I'm like, all right, I have to talk to you in a way where I can't get my emotions involved in this. You really have to like communicate as if I were talking to a friend. So I think that's really helpful. And then I think just like do what works for you, like you said, because I think we get so caught up in, well, they're doing that in their relationships. That works for them. Okay, let's try it works. It might not work for you. Right. Like my husband, we said, look, we're only doing this one time. He's like, I don't care if you got to sleep in the east wing and I'm sleeping in the west wing, whatever. Like we only doing this one time. So however that looks, however we work it out, we only doing this once. So we need to figure it out or whatever. Because I'm not signing no papers. And I was like, okay, well, you know, we'll work it out. But I think doing what's best for you and talking to them as if they're your friend, because sometimes, and I've been guilty of it, I've said some things that are really hurtful out of like anger and emotion. But I feel like in those moments, if I had talked to him like he was my friend, I wouldn't have said those things, because you don't want to hurt your friends.
Because you can't get those
you
back.
You can't get it back. Sometimes, you know, we've done, you know, sometimes you say some really, you know, because you know everything about this person. You can, they know, and you know, they know when to like how they can push your button, and we know how to push theirs. So I think just communicating as a friend is like, to me, like my best thing of advice, and not get caught up in the fairy tale, because that fairy tale is not real. Sorry.
There's a version of it, but
it's a version, right? Like you might get it in quarters, but it's not like you know 24/7. So thank you, ladies, so much for being a part of the conversation, and we'll cheers to healthy, long-lasting relationships, and wishing everybody the best. And if you want to continue to follow this conversation, make sure you follow us at Brunch TV. We'll see you next time. It wasn't too bad, right?